Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 206 at scavengerlife.com.
Okay, so how are you doing today, Ryan? We're going to have a real good podcast.
I hope so.
Are you ready for a good podcast?
Are you ready for a good podcast?
Sometimes we're not ready for podcasts and we start them and then we start arguing and we have to pause the podcast. We have a long argument. Like last week we had a huge fight and then we just started back up and nobody knew.
Nobody knew. It's the magic of editing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's truly magic.
But fighting's good. I always say I always love when we fight, you know?
I know, and I always think that's funny, but I understand why, because you fight or, argue, disagree, have different opinions, however you want to phrase it. And then you can just get over it.
It's like we get it all out.
Which happened this morning.
It's resolve it.
I even walked out of the house while you were still talking.
Well,
I was like, I don't care. I can't.
There's certain tasks we have to do where we can only do it over chat, where we have to be in separate rooms or separate buildings and just do it so it's like no emotion. We're like robots transferring information, and it's good.
I think what's funny is I was like, we don't have to be in two separate rooms. Let's just do this. And then I was like, I can't do it.
I called it.
I have to go in the other building.
Because those of you that work a partner probably know this, that we work at different speeds. We are interested in different things. We approach things in different ways,
Yes.
And when you're done on chat, sometimes it takes out...
It takes out the emotion. There's no, why do you think that? It's just all facts. It's like, What is the date? What is the time? What are we supposed to do? When are we scheduling this? It's just text.
Yep.
So, anyway, that happened.
So it's a good thing. It's a miracle that we do this every week, relatively.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so this week I wanted to talk about the hunger.
Yes, I see this on the outline. I'm afraid.
The hunger. Well, so, I'm sure you'll understand this. I mean... on the blog, people come up, they have questions, they have comments, they're talking about their own approach to eBay.
Right.
And they talk about, where they're having issues. Ultimately, I think that the answer is, do you have the hunger or do you not have the hunger?
Right.
And that's the hunger to scavenge.
Right.
Because really I find that we have that hunger.
Yeah.
That's why I think we were still doing this, because... whatever problem might arise, like problem customer, we don't know how to ship something, some object is confusing us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a big deal because ultimately we have this hunger to figure it out because we love to scavenge,
right. And the benefits of scavenging, selling, everything that goes along with that continues to push us forward.
I mean, if you have the hunger, it doesn't matter what happens.
Right.
You'll keep doing this.
Right.
Right. Whether or not you do it on eBay, you do it at a flea market, you do it wherever. You've gotten bitten by that bug.
Yeah.
And you just want to keep treasure hunting and trying to sell that stuff.
Right. Because the benefits outweigh those roadblocks.
Right.
That sounds like a motivational t-shirt. A motivational poster.
Yeah.
No, but it's true, because it's there are times where things will feel like huge problems, and then you fix them or figure them out or go through the process and you're like, okay, that wasn't that big a deal,
I mean, also, at the end of the day, I still have not lost my love of scavenging. I mean, there are a couple of thrift stores that we had started at when we first started, and we still go to them. And it's like going home. It's like going to a friend's house.
Right.
And I still, because we went this week and scavenged there, I still get excited. I'm the one out of the door first. I'm like, come on, Ryan, you're too slow. Let's go.
I know.
And we go in there, and it's like I got to get my cart, and I have a whole system of where I go through the place.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun,
It's really funny because there are a couple thrift stores like that where I just feel like I look around and I'm just like, these are my people. Like, this is my, like, hangout,
Right.
you know?
And, you know, and during those moments, I'm not so much thinking, like, okay, I need to make $1,200, or I've got to pay this bill, or, you know, like, I better be finding something,
Right.
you know, that's really expensive. It's more about I'm just enjoying its process, you know?
Yeah.
I like to see the people there. You know,
Yep.
It's a whole atmosphere.
Oh, and I mean, and then there's the whole thing of, I can't believe the stuff we find all the time
Right.
for the last 6 years.
Right.
You just walk in and you're like, I can't believe I found that. Or I was looking for this exact thing that I needed, and it was right there on the shelf, you know?
You know, and that's why we call it scavenger life, because at the end of the day, that's what's the most important thing, is that, you know, we identify ourselves as scavengers.
Yeah.
And then we've just figured out a way at how to sell all the stuff we
Lucky
we
us.
buy. I mean, yeah, you know. And so I only bring that up because sometimes when there are questions about, like, what should I sell, or I heard you can go to Kohl's and buy, like, dish rags and resell them. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the ultimate, the answer is always like, yeah. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, if that's what excites you, you know, if that's what feeds your hunger,
Right.
then go and do that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's something that we talk about a lot, is you have to be buying things and finding things that are interesting to you, because if it's not, it becomes a job. It becomes an office job, essentially.
Yeah, I don't
in
know.
my opinion.
I mean, I wonder, there might be people out there that don't agree with this, who are thinking, like, I'm just, you know, I need to make $3,000
Right.
a month.
Yeah.
I don't care how I do that. I
Right.
could sell pencils,
Right.
or towels, or old, you know, vintage glasses. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's all about the dollar.
Right,
And
right.
I don't know. Maybe there are people like that, and they don't get. I can't do that, because
Right.
if I'm trying to sell things that I'm not excited about, it makes me demoralized,
Yeah.
uninterested. I get bored very easily,
Yep.
and I'm not efficient either.
Right.
So
You're sluggish.
and so I'm not productive.
Right.
And that happens to me, where, like, I'll make this big pile of stuff I've got to take pictures of, and then I start realizing, like, God, I hate this stuff.
Yeah,
Like, I
this
don't know
stuff is
why
junk.
we got it. And sometimes it might take me a week to get through that pile, when normally it should take me an afternoon.
Right.
Just because I'm, like, putting it off.
Yeah.
And, like,
So I think there's different categories of people, and I think that part of it, there's a couple aspects of it. There's the people where it's just a number, and it's fun for them because they're like, look at all this stuff, I just sold it, I don't care what it is, and that's fun for them. For us, that's not fun. But there are certain things that you'll find that you'll be like, okay, here's this thing, I don't know what it is, I don't care, let me do some research, and then you find out, oh, this is really collectible, this is this thing, this is whatever. Now it's fun, because now I'm one of the only, 10 people who are going to look for this weird random thing, and sell it to that other weird random person. Like, there are things where initially you're just like, but then because you can sell it to a certain market, it becomes more fun. Like, for me, it's like, and I always say this, it's like pottery and china and glassware. I didn't care about that stuff at all. I don't care. I don't want it in my house. I don't want it for myself.
so why do you care now?
Because I think I gained an appreciation for it, because I knew that other people appreciated it and wanted it, and, felt that there was value around it. I can appreciate that stuff for my kitchen and whatever, but I'm not, like, decorating my house with that stuff. So I think that there are certain things where you can appreciate the history and the quality of certain china and things like that.
I see what you're saying.
But
So it's kind of like, we discover that there's these groups of collectors out
Right.
there that we didn't know, and they teach us in a way
Yes.
what's exciting about
Right.
an object, and then we look at an object that it used to bore us,
Yeah.
and now it's exciting because there's, like, this rich history that we
like, you
didn't
can
know about.
transfer that to someone who can, like, vintage pencils. do I really care about vintage pencils? Well, now I do, because now I know there are people all over the world looking for those. You know, I'm not looking for them. I'm looking for them to sell them. But so I think that there's different aspects of it. Like those things you can like, there's like value transference, you know, or excitement transference in that way. But, you know, hardware stuff, like when you went to that hardware auction, like I still have to list half that stuff because I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, there's a table on our porch full of all this like a new in-box hardware stuff that I bought at that hardware auction I talked about. You know, it's cool. You know, I was thinking, oh, maybe we'll send this to Amazon because this is the Amazon stuff. And then we got into it, and it's like, you know, it's cool. Like I bought for $1, we can sell it for 10. I mean, it's like, but that table might be sitting there for a little while because...
No, I hope to get it. Well, the problem is with that is that a lot of that stuff needs to get sold in lots. This is a lot of 10 bottles of such and such, not one by one. And I was listing it one by one on Amazon, like I have quantity 10.
It's like...
Not worth it.
You know, bottles of like spray cleaner that takes off a mortar off a brick, like that kind of stuff.
Like, actually, I kind of need some of that stuff at the other house, but it's just, you know, things like that where I'm like, okay, now we have to take the photos and list it and weigh it and da.
So we've talked about this before in other podcasts about, you know, the whole thing about being passionate and like, and, you know, the reason why we make this podcast is more to reach out and find the other people who are selling online who are trying to figure out how to be sustainable for the long term.
Right.
And, okay, so I'm going to talk about someone, not because to say anything bad about him, but just because he's an example. He's kind of a public figure. This is kind of like inside baseball, inside eBay.
Yeah.
There's that guy, a Rakin Prophet.
Right, Steve Rakin.
Steve Rakin.
So we interviewed him over a year ago.
Yeah, you know, he's like one of those guys on a YouTube, you know.
He's definitely a YouTuber.
He would make all these videos about selling on eBay. He's kind of like a motivational coach guy. And he's still on eBay. I mean, he's still on YouTube. But he's a good example of what I see a lot, where people get really excited about eBay.
Yeah.
They might even like become like coaches or these motivational speakers. And he was all about like selling... what was it?
Blazers. He made a book. This cracks me up every time. Called Blazing Profits.
I mean, it's such a great name.
It's incredible. I was just like, that is classic.
And so, you know, but he no longer sells on eBay as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
He quit pretty quickly. So he goes from being like this coach teaching everyone else how to sell and selling ebooks and, you know, he's like the guy to like, he decided it wasn't what he wanted to do anymore. And now it's like, I guess he realized he likes writing ebooks. Or actually, he seems to like to sell ebooks. So what he's done is, it's so interesting. He goes on like Odesk or those like Elance or those freelancer sites, hires people for, you know, small amount of cash.
Yeah.
Have them write like a 30-page ebook about just any random topic. And then he sells them under his name, I guess.
His publisher
or
name.
Under his publisher name.
Yeah.
And so he just... hires a lot of people and everyone's writing these like little books and then he's making money from it and then just it's so great, it's like on one thing on top of another. It sounds like him and this other guy are creating this program to teach other people how to do that, and you have to buy this network program, a system of how to do that. So it's
now,
like
you know this
meta, super meta.
You know this because he's talking about it on YouTube pretty extensively, right? I mean, you're not just like guessing this is what he's doing.
This isn't, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of his business, but that seems to be like what he's about. And, and that's so totally cool. If you watch his most recent videos, he seems very excited about his life, and that's good. Yeah. But I guess for me, being a scavenger, it means that he didn't really have the hunger to be like a scavenger like we are, where we're like, where we started scavenging old things or whatever, and we're still doing that, and I still have the same excitement as I did way back when. Yeah. So I only bring that up because if you're starting off trying to sell on eBay, that's really the core question I think you should be asking first, rather than just like, what should I sell? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess those are valid questions, like what should I sell? And someone's like, sell, like go buy towels at Kohl's, or go and buy vintage, eyewear or something,
Right.
I mean, I guess you've got to start somewhere, but then that question should be, am I excited by this? Am I
Right.
excited by this? Am I excited by going into Walmart and scanning food items, and sending it to FBA? I mean, some people seem really excited by that.
Yeah, some people do.
So that's good. I mean, I've just seen again and again people trying to sell online,
right,
but burning out really quick because they don't have that hunger for whatever they're trying.
Well, it's not
sell.
that long-term, like, sustainable feeling, where you're like, this is interesting to me because I'm this type of personality and I'm going to keep on doing this and be sustainable.
And it's not even about being, smart. I mean, there's lots of smart people, as we've seen, that started doing this and they just stop because they just realize they don't care.
Yeah, they don't want to do it.
They don't.
Yeah, it's not exciting to them.
Right. And so I guess that's what I'm trying to say here is that if you have that hunger, then all the problems that come up go away. And I feel like people that start creating too much like chaos around their store and customers and drama.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like it's more like an excuse to not have to actually do their business.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they don't want to admit to themselves that they don't really care about this.
They don't
thing,
really want to do it.
Yeah.
They just want the money and not do the work.
I guess, yeah. And and I see a lot, like I'm on a Reddit, a forum, they have one for flipping.
The flipping, yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, there's smart people on there, and it's a lot of, seems like maybe younger people, it's hard to tell, but, a lot of video games, a lot of, like, electronics.
Yeah.
Which, they seem really excited about, but a lot of the questions are, like, fast money.
Yeah,
How do I make fast cash?
Yeah.
And there are ways to make fast money flipping stuff, but it's just that. It's just like kind of these quick injections of money.
And it's not as much money as the longer term, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what we like to talk about, our strategies of how you like kind of can build over time something. We call it the pipeline, I guess.
Yeah, the pipeline.
Mean, now I feel like one of those like motivational guys. The system, the eBay pipeline.
But it's a good,
where just like if money's coming out.
Well, because you put stuff into it, cool vintage, one of a kind stuff that you've been scavenging, and then you don't have to put stuff into it every single day. It's good if you do that, but then over time you mix it up, you shake it up like some salad dressing, and then out the other end is like a pair of shoes sold, a hat sold, a vintage glassware sold, like a lighting fixture sold. Like, I look at our sold listings and I'm like, this is so random. But, like I did, I listed, 400 pairs of shoes, and shoes are going to sell, like over the next year. And so it's just like, it's true. It's like a pipeline. And it's so funny. We always joke because we'll pull up our car or our truck into the driveway, unload all the stuff, and we're like, our neighbors, I mean, I know that they're like, they always have bags and bags of stuff. And I'm like, I wish they would see when the postal carrier came, because like, all the bags come in and like every day stuff goes out. So it's like, it's a pipeline.
Yep.
In and out. So,
and and we're also solving our own particular problems, or challenges. Like, for instance, we're going away for 2 months.
Yeah, pretty
soon.
much.
We just we'll talk about that in a bit. We just booked all this travel. So basically, for 2 months, we're not going to be doing much eBay at all.
No listing.
Yeah, I mean, so
hopefully we're still selling.
So we're not going to put anything else in the pipeline, but we feel confident that we've built a pipeline where we're still going to be selling things and money's going to be happening for the 2 months. And that solves our particular problem, is that's what we like to do. We like to be able to have pretty consistent income, but be able to kind of, work on eBay when we want to.
Right. When we have the time to do it.
Yeah. And I know that's what is the real attraction about Amazon FBA, because that's like the ultimate list it and forget it.
Right, because they ship it for you.
So my hat's off to them. But again, I just don't have the hunger to send in the kind of stuff that people send into FBA.
Yeah, it's just not.
I haven't cracked that code yet.
No, I don't know if we ever will, but we can try.
Crack the code.
We keep talking about trying, and every time I think about trying, I get so bored.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a different world.
So, anyway, I hope that helps maybe some of the conversations we've been having on the blog about, lots of good questions, a lot of good topics coming up. But at the end of the day, it's always about, like, are you hungry to do what you're talking about?
Right.
Or asking about,
Or does it just sound like a fun hobby that,
Right.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times I just want to be like, do you want to do this or not? Because if you do, you'll figure it out.
Right.
Like, it's not hard to figure it out. You just have to want to do it. Right. That's it. And that's the key to most things in life, I find. What was that? You sounded like a pterodactyl baby.
So I have one more idea to add on this, or one more thought. So I have a friend, and we have a friend,
yes,
who started asking us about selling on eBay.
Right.
And he's really similar to us, where he's like kind of a freelancer, tech contractor, and we told him about selling on eBay, and he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's technically savvy. He understands the concept of eBay. He opened up a store.
Yep.
He started selling stuff just out of his home. He had a lot of old electronics and
instruments,
DVDs,
and stuff like that.
Instruments, and we chat, or for a while there we were chatting quite often, and he's asking the right questions, and answering him.
He's really diving in.
But he's now at that point where I don't hear from him quite as much, and I just don't know if he's now that he's been faced with what the reality of all of this is I'm just not sure if he has that hunger or not. I mean, he definitely has a motivation, you know. He's got like a family, and he doesn't want to have to work certain jobs, which I totally get. So he's like, I would love to get this income, and could I do this? But sometimes we've talked about like him finding stuff. I go to the thrift stores, I'm not finding this, or I bought this stuff and I'm realizing it's not worth anything. And those are good questions, like those are things we all figure out. We all make those mistakes for starting out. But if he has that hunger, he'll figure it out. Because I'm always like, go to yard sales. Like, he lives in California. I'm like, oh man, there must be yard sales like
all the time. Estate sales. Oh my God. He lives in a super metropolitan area. You're like, you could just walk to an estate sale every day.
I feel like if a person has the hunger,
you have to. It's
like,
happen.
It's kind of like everything falls away, and all there is just that desire to treasure hunt. Right. If you don't care about any other details except there's stuff out there that I can find, that's awesome. Right. And that will drive you. And I kind of feel sometimes his questions are more about just tell me the most efficient thing. I don't want to really think about it. Like, what should I buy? Like, do I just focus on shoes? And I'm just like, maybe, like shoes are great, and so that's where, and I'm not sure which side he's going to fall on.
Well, I think your point is valid, where it's sort of like you're either doing it no matter what because you want the freedom and the independence and to just scavenge all day and just not have to go to an office job and not have to all this stuff.
Yeah, right. I mean, a lot of people have it's motivation to try this. Right. I hate my job, but that's not enough.
It's not enough. Yeah. You just have to be like, this is what you do. You always do it, and you figure stuff out fast, and you make mistakes, and those mistakes you learn from. I think that's why it's really hard, and we talk about this all the time, because people are constantly asking us and constantly annoyed at us for being annoyed about asking about what to buy, because we're like, it doesn't matter what you buy. Right. You just need to figure out what works for you. It could be books. It could be glassware. It could be new in-box stuff from the liquidator.
It could be cars.
It could be cars.
You could go to car auctions and buy auctions, at those cop auctions, and buy cars and resell them.
I mean, that's why it's so hard for us to be like, let me give you a list, because you could buy plush. Lots of people are into plush. I freaking hate plush. I have 2 plush things I'm looking at right now, and I'm just like, I hate you.
And for people who don't know, people mean plush toys.
Plush toys, like teddy bears and...
Yeah, there's
whatever.
Soft.
Yeah, soft toys. I just, some people are really into that, and I'm just like, don't care.
Yeah.
So it's really hard because my answer is going to be totally different than someone who even does similar stuff because they have a different avenue of doing it.
And, we've seen people come into the community that they love their job, like they seem to enjoy what they do for a living. They get good benefits. So they don't even seem to have the motivation to start an eBay store other than the fact that they really love to scavenge, right. And that they're like, I'm not going to quit. It's my job. This is great, but I'm still going to scavenge because I love doing that too.
Right. We've heard that several times where people are like, I just don't want to quit my job. I love my job. I have great benefits, but I love this as, extra cash, savings, things like that, And that's cool. And that's different than us, and
but we all share that same hunger to go out there.
The passion and the excitement.
In treasure hunt.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the difference is if you can really just get past any, doubts and questions and like, I don't know, is this worth anything? I don't know, just figure it out and do it and try it again and try it again, 10,000 times over.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about our numbers.
Let's.
This will kind of like anchor our conversation here because basically we can have all these crazy ideas, but really if we aren't making money,
it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
If you don't make money, if the numbers don't work, it doesn't matter.
Then don't listen to us.
Whoa!
Don't listen to us. All right, so we now have 2 stores. So store number 1, our original store. We made about $2,000, $2,040. So we had a really good week. Last week, I don't think we barely broke $1,200. So it was a good steady week for us.
And a couple high dollar items. So.
I mean, if you think about that, we made almost $300 a day averaged.
Yeah.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, those are the numbers you want to hit.
So we talk about summer's slow, but it's not slow consistently. Weeks are slow, weeks aren't, Yeah. What helped us this week, and we'll talk a bit some, is that we sold some high-priced items that really helped, boost our sales.
Which was great.
So we sold 32 items, which is good.
Yeah. Average price sold, $63.
Right.
Which is a nice high average price.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And then in our second store that we started as an experiment in May, we have 377 items in that store. We sold 8 items for a total of $250.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, so that is good. It really is interesting having the second store because we haven't had any defects or returns, in the 2 months or so since we've had the store. It just feels so fresh and clean. And I can imagine people that start off new and it's like this clean experience and then suddenly they start selling enough where it just always happens. You get a defect, some customer wants to return something, you get like a neutral feedback, and it's just, I can see how you're like, oh, it was so clean and now it's all dirty.
Well, and also like, you think that that's just like how it's going to be. You're like, oh yeah, we're just like 100%. And I mean, the more numbers you do, it's inevitable. Although I will say there are some sellers on the blog who sell more than us or close to us, and they're like, oh no, I have 100% feedback. I'm like, I don't know how.
Hats off to you.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So, what did we sell this week? Let's talk about some of the cool things we sold. So,
yes.
I guess about a month ago, we went to an auction, and I saw these 2 rolling tool chests.
They were Craftsman.
There was it's red ones with all the drawers.
Yeah.
And I knew we couldn't ship them.
No.
But we've been selling stuff on a local pickup, so we threw them on eBay, and we sold them both actually today.
Yes.
Guy came and got them, and we bought them for about $100 for 2 of them.
Yeah, it was like $50 each.
Total, and we sold them for $350 total.
Yeah, so, no, it was $300 total.
It was 200, yeah, sorry.
200 and 100.
Right.
So the cool thing is, this guy was from Baltimore. He drove today. The communication was a little weird. Like, we were having trouble communicating with him. He said he would be here at 9. He showed up at 11:30. Stuff like that. But you know what? I wanted them off the porch.
Yeah.
He already paid for the first one, and we both knew he was going to offer cash for the second one. We just had a feeling, and he did. He offered $100 for the second one.
And really, we made cash. So we made about $200, which is great.
Right.
But when I saw them, this is where, it's something new to me. I saw that those were selling. I thought we'd get more. The ones that get more are the Snap-on. Snap-on tools.
They look just like these, but they're Snap-on, and they sell for...
And those sell for like $1,000.
Yeah.
So I just, it was kind of a mess up on my part, but now I've learned, and we still made its money. So it's,
Now, what was funny too about this auction, those were one of the first things they started selling, and they started them high. Because by the end of this auction, this was like this crazy auction we went to, stuff was selling for less than $1 each. $1, I swear to God, $1 for like 2 huge tables full of stuff.
Or just like a pallet of stuff for $1.
They could not get rid of stuff for cheap enough. So it's funny because by the end of it, we were like, oh, that sucks. We paid like $100
But
for
at that auction, these were the nicer pieces, so it would make sense that they would start them off.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it was just this place I was trying to sell off their junk, and it was really junk, and that's why they couldn't sell stuff for $1. But we still got good stuff.
But so it's good because it was one of those learning experiences where you're like, oh, these are only worth $100 to $200, and we paid $50 each. But they got off our porch today. Yay, they're gone.
So something else we sold was an oak hall tree.
Yeah. So explain what a hall tree is.
So we had one growing up. They aren't, I don't think, as common these days. So when you walk into the house, it's like a piece of furniture that's right by the doorway that has hooks and usually a mirror, and there's a bench that often opens up that you hold gloves and hats.
You can also hold umbrellas on it, and
you can have a seat and put your shoes on.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool. Well, okay, so it's from the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's a very functional piece of furniture, which is neat. I think. And
we sold it for $600.
Yeah. So the story is, now Jay and I are debating how much we paid. I remember $180, and he remembers that it was a 50% off sale, so he's thinking it's $90.
I just can't imagine I would have bought a piece of furniture for $180.
I remember paying that much for it.
Anyway, so we bought it, and it's been a year and a half.
A year and a half, yeah.
And it's been sitting on our porch for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we originally had $1,800 on it.
But the issue is this. Dark wood like that, because it is tiger oak wood, it's gorgeous wood, but it's dark varnish. That wood is not in style right now. Yeah. What's in style is mid-century modern all day long.
But we've been talking about this. About 2 years ago, we started this furniture experiment.
Yes.
Where we started to see this stuff in auctions that wasn't, and that's why I think we only paid $90, because we were buying stuff that went relatively cheap.
Yeah.
But either way, we had a year and a half, and this is one of those times where we didn't just list it and forgot it. We actually thought, because it's right there on our porch and we pass it every day, we remembered it, and we were like, let's change the price. We often don't change prices, but in this case we did.
Yes.
We changed to $600, and someone bought it.
Within a couple weeks, I would say.
And the thing about this is it's local pickup, but we were hungry to sell it. The person said, I live about an hour and a half away. How much would it cost to ship it to me?
Right.
And we said, we'll drive it to you if you buy it full price.
Yeah, I don't even think we said if you'll buy it full price. We just kind of sweetened the deal where we were. I don't think she understood where we were. Right. And we were like, you're not that far. We'll make a day of it. We'll come down and drive it to you.
Yep.
And she's like, that would be great. Can you do it on Saturday? We're like, yep.
So that was a great, true scavenger experience.
Yeah.
We spent it yesterday. We got up. We drove, an hour and a half to drop it off. We put it into her home. It was we got to it was one of those experiences that we rarely get on eBay where we got to see
customer.
We meted the customer, and we actually put it
in her house,
and we got to see how it matched everything, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was good. And it was cool because really in the country, she was 70 miles away. that's not that far for us. Like,
Right.
we had a bunch of errands we had to run, and
we didn't have to drive in. This is country drive. We didn't have to drive. She didn't live in a city.
Yeah.
She was in a small town.
it's all back roads.
We got to drive over a mountain. After we dropped it off, we ate sandwiches in the truck. We went to an estate sale.
Yes, we did. We went to an estate sale, and we can talk about more about that later.
So,
but.
it was all just part of the process.
Right.
And we made, even if we paid $180 for it, we made $400. So,
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got it off the porch. The porch is clearing off. I
right.
love it. It makes me so happy.
Right. And so something else we sold. We sold some jewelry this week, and this is all you. We sold a necklace.
Yeah, so the funny thing about this necklace is it looks like butterscotch bakelite / amber. But it was actually ceramic beads, like glazed, like kind of a glassy glazed ceramic beads. I show it in the video. And even though it was ceramic beads, I felt I could ask a high price because it's the look that people are looking for right now. It's a very trendy thing that's happening right now with butterscotch amber / faux amber, which is bakelite. So I think I had like $2 something on it. It might have been $2.99 even, which is a little crazy. And I got an offer of $150. I was like, I think I paid like $3 for this thing, even though it was kind of a high-end sort of designer style, chunky, whatever, handmade necklace. So $150 for a necklace I paid maybe $3 to $5 for is like, I'm laughing.
I feel like we got on this like butterscotch. We took this butterscotch drug because one time Ryan found a butterscotch bakelite necklace at a thrift store.
$3.
She bought it for $3, and we sold it for $1,200.
It was $1,300. Now, this was the beginning of us realizing that there's a real crazy thing happening in China where people really want amber, and a lot of people are either buying real amber and selling it in China or using it themselves, or buying fake amber and selling it as real amber, or buying fake amber because it's cheaper.
Right. I mean, they might. I mean, we don't know
I have
what
no
they do
idea
with
what
it.
they're doing
But
with it.
I guess I would say that it was like a drug because that first experience was so high, was so incredible, and we've been chasing that high ever since then.
And never getting close.
And we've never been able to sell anything that much, but we still sell consistently. $100 here.
I mean, those are great
there.
prices. $100, $200. I mean, I'm happy with that. Yeah, that's fine by me.
So some other good sales we had, that Kemper pottery.
Kemper.
We've talked about this. We found a box in the back of a dirty old thrift store. We bought all this Kemper pottery,
27 pieces
for $25.
So it was 90 cents each.
We sold 2 more pieces. It's this week, one for $125 and one for $100. So we've sold 7 items now for over $500, and we still have 19 items left. So I mean, that $25 box, if we're patient, I mean, we could make
over $1,000, I think.
Oh, more than more than we sold 7 items for $500.
Oh, right.
We're talking about over $3,000.
No, you're right. So what's interesting about these pieces too is they've been listed for a few months now, 5 months, 3 months, something like that. And I could have taken some really low offers in the beginning. People started offering me stuff really low. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hang on to this. And it's been worth it to hang on to it. Yeah. So, one piece for $100, I'm happy.
I mean, we talk about this, about building this pipeline. Like, this box of pottery is like a little pottery pipeline. We've thrown all these items into it, and now we're just patient. I mean, we've already just made tremendous amount of money.
I paid for the whole thing. I sold a replacement top. It was tiny. It's like the size of like a silver dollar.
A lid, yeah.
A lid, yeah, for like a sugar bowl or something. I sold that for $25, and I paid for the whole lot,
right.
In the first sale.
And the way we see it is, a lot of other people sell this kind of pottery too, and their prices are often cheaper. And you know what? We'll let them sell it for cheap. Someone's going to get a crazy deal. And then our pieces will always be there when someone needs it, and the cheap ones have been, pulled off the market.
That's how I like to think about it.
That's how it works.
So I actually had a couple similar shirt sales this week. One guy bought this Vietnam Army shirt. It was this, I had 3 of the exact same ones with the exact same patches from one estate. And I sold one a while ago, and then this guy gave me an offer of $50. I think I had 79 on them, and I was like, "Yeah, $50 for a shirt, I'll sell that." And then he got it, and then a day later, he gives me an offer of I think like $37. And I noticed it was the same guy. I'm like, dude, come on, you paid $50 for the other one. You know I'm going to counter at $50. So I countered at $50, and he bought the second one.
Yep.
So that's 2 shirts for $100. I think I sold the other one for $50 too.
And we got them at a sale where they were just getting rid of their clothes, and we bought them for 25 cents a piece. And it's so interesting.
Crazy.
This is like just like what it is, why I have the hunger, because we're at this place.
Yeah.
And you see, there were these beautiful shirts. They had the guy's name on it from like the early 70s with all the patches.
Vietnam era.
And he had them pressed.
And starched.
And this guy probably, put them in the back of his closet because he was proud of his service.
Right.
He never touched them. He died. And his kids just gave them away.
Yeah.
And then we were able to get them. And then I think that they probably have gone to, I hope, a good home. Like this guy obviously appreciated it so much. And maybe that's his name, or maybe he just loves his style.
Yeah.
And they now will be hopefully worn well.
Yeah,
or
someone
saved.
really appreciates them. So the other one that was similar, just real quick, is I have all these Scrubs shirts. That's actually the brand name, and they're like all these crazy patterns and stuff.
They're a nurse's uniform.
Like nurse's uniform, doctor uniform, but they're like jackets, so they're a little bit nicer. They're not just like a shirt, they're like an over jacket thing. So this woman bought one this week. I send it to her, she gets it. She buys another one from me, and of course I noticed the name because I just shipped it the other day. And so I wrote to her, and I was like, I have like 6 more of these, so if there's another one that you want, I can combine shipping, whatever. So the one she wanted was priced like $6 more because I thought it was a little bit fancier, like a little bit funkier pattern. And she's like, well, this one's $36.99, and I don't know. She said that's a little too rich for me. So I was like, okay, I'll do $29.99, just like the other ones you bought. She's like, great. So I sold 3 of those scrub shirts to the same woman, and that's $90 worth of scrub shirts.
And these also were at another thrift store where they were just kind of getting rid of those things. And we saw all these nurses' scrubs, and they're like designer. They have like fancy designs on them.
Yeah, fancy like patterns.
Brand new, and we took them all.
I took them all.
They were
like 10 cents each. I mean, it was one of those sales where they're like, just, it's bulk clothing, basically. So I took, because I just thought, anytime there's like nice cotton pattern, clean, new, like that, people want that stuff. So I just was like, I'm taking all of it. And I've been selling them steadily ever since then. So that was fun.
And then another kind of neat sale was I bought these sheep shears, like out where we live. It's like one of these farm implements, They're the manual sheep shears where it's basically just 2 blades on a spring, and, you're just shearing sheep. It's just bing, bing, bing.
Right.
And these are like old-fashioned. They're it's rusty, and someone bought 2 of them for $40.
It was a pair, yeah.
A pair. Yeah. The only reason why it's interesting was we always like to see if we can figure out who bought them.
Because her name was unique, so I looked up her name.
And it's classic. It's like a designer.
Yeah.
Her husband's a kind of a well-known architect in New York.
Yeah.
And we found some articles where they're like redoing fancy homes in the Hamptons. And
I mean, these are like serious people.
And so it seems like the recent articles, their new style is like farm,
rustic,
primitive.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's just like it's what we always talk about. It's like these fancy New York people are buying like a rural kind of implements.
Just say it, rich people.
Rich people.
Yeah, these people are rich people.
And then putting it within they'll show these homes with eternal pools, and
on the Hamptons,
5,000 square foot houses, with like these old farm implements,
that they bought on eBay from us and other people. So that's always fun when you're like, oh yeah, that's like the exact person I put this online for. Some fancy
I wanted
designer.
to tell her, like, we're gonna be it's New York soon. Can we come stay with you? Can we come?
I would like to visit. Your fancy.
I will bring them to you in person.
I know, exactly. So those were cool sales, definitely.
So customer issues.
Yes.
We didn't really have a big deal, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, so this was cool because I asked people in the last podcast, like, someone's returning something because of color, and they admit that in the hassle-free return, yet they said item not described. So I asked people for their advice, and a lot of people said, yep, you should be able to contest that through eBay. So what I did was I called eBay, and they call this abusing returns because color is considered buyer's remorse because they're like, it's not the color I wanted. Right. That's not my fault. I mean, showed the photos.
If there's a photo and if you say the color in the description, I mean,
what more can you do? So they sided with me, and so what they told me to do was, you need to go into PayPal, do the partial refund of just the price of the item minus your restocking fee. So in this case, it ended up being $20. And they will open a case, so that they have to see the refund. So I waited on the phone. I was like, I'm refunding this, and I want you guys to see it, because I want this taken care of right now. They're like, okay, we see the refund. And then so they'll open a case, because you want the return case closed. You want it resolved, so there's no defect or anything like that. They opened a case, they sided with me so that I didn't have to refund like the shipping and, all the full price and whatever. So it is possible to contest the return. You just have to call them, and I swear to God, I had to explain it to like 3 different people, and they were like, oh, it's not a very smooth, silky process, but eventually they are like, oh, I see what's happening here.
But the good thing is this kind of case happens very rarely.
Oh, it's rare.
Most people just return things and they're like, I made a mistake, fine, I'll eat the shipping.
Right, and I'm pretty obsessive about
so
that.
that's and it's good. And then the guy, we never heard from him.
I never heard from him.
So he must have been just like, whatever.
Yeah, like he probably just didn't even know what he did on the return anyway. Right. But on my end, I wanted it to be a clean. And so another thing too, just for all the nerds out there, just make sure you look on your dashboard, make sure the defect is not there. If it is, just call and be like, this isn't supposed to be there. And I have been finding that the defect dashboard, whatever, takes like a week or more for it to be gone. If you call and they see it, they're like, oh yeah, that's going to be gone next Thursday.
Well, people it's confirmed, and I think we've heard this too from customer service, that they like put it into a queue, and then it's like every Wednesday or Friday, it all gets kind of processed. So it happens once a week.
Yeah, so if you're still seeing it after a couple days, that's probably why. So just give it a little while. But if you still see it after 2 weeks, which I have in some cases, I'm like, yo, take this off.
And we've been in that period where we haven't really gotten anything sent back to us very much. I mean, it happens to us where things come in big waves, where we'll get like a bunch of it returns all in 1 week. Other than this guy, it's been very,
It's been quiet, but yeah. So what did we do this past week?
So this past week, we were so determined, we got a lot of stuff to get done, a lot of, there's piles in our home of eBay stuff I've got to take pictures of, and Ryan has plenty to list. We were ready to do it. We spent only 1 day working on a list in eBay. You only listed
24 things.
24 items, and I only did 1 day of of taking photos. I mean, that was it.
What are we doing this week?
So one thing we did was Ryan, it was kind of in the evening time, we were kind of wrapping up the day. Ryan's like, I found an expensive stove oven on Craigslist, and it's only $200. Should we just buy it? And I'm just like, why do we need a stove?
It is a very good question.
But we have this, dream of getting another rental.
Yeah.
And it's a Genair oven, stovetop, that new would be $1,700 to $2,500. It was $200, and it was just 5 years old and barely used.
Yeah, it was one of those things where this is so funny to me about people on Craigslist and on eBay. She didn't have any photos. She had no description. She just said Jen Air oven. She had it up for $250. And I was like, that's weird. Why wouldn't she put a photo? That's like a hot item. So I wrote her just being like, yeah, let's just see. You know, why not? Let's just try. So I was like, do you have any pictures? Can you tell me what color it is? What's the model? Like, anything? She snaps this photo. It's this gorgeous oven. It's a slide-in oven with a glass top. It's all stainless. It looks like she never used it. I'm like, how about $150 and I'll come get it tomorrow, basically to sweeten the deal. I'll come get it out of your house. She was like $200 and I was like, yep, I'll come get it tomorrow.
So that was one of our days because, you know, we live an hour and a half from the biggest urban area.
It was in the city, yeah.
So we drove and we got it.
We did it.
And we made a day of it and we did a bunch of other kind of cool stuff. And so now we have this oven that either we're going to use in a future rental or we'll eventually sell the thing and make,
exactly,
you know, bunch of money.
Yeah, so, like more money than we paid for sure. So that was one of those things where I was like, let's just do it. Why not? We have time to do it.
Right. And other people on the blog, because I had posted a picture of it on Friday's opening.
Yeah, there's a picture of it on the blog.
You know, other people that have rentals had said that as well. I think Amber said that. She says, yeah, we've had rentals and we just go on Craigslist and we get everything. You know,
all appliances. I mean,
beds and, you know.
Like I'm one of those. I mean, clearly we're scavengers, so I'm one of those people who just cruises the appliance section on Craigslist. I just want to see what people are selling, what people are giving away. People sell, because especially in a city like we live near DC, people are in the military or in contracting and they get transferred all the time. So they're like, I've had this for a year. It's totally brand new. It's $100. You're like,
right. Just come get it.
I mean, you can't... Yeah. We went to Lowe's yesterday, and we were like, let's just look at the appliances, like the scratch and dent appliances. I'm like, these are $800. Right. You know, it's just like... Craigslist is amazing for stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you have an apartment and you want to get just all brand new stuff, you know, refrigerator, microwave, you know, sink, I mean, all that stuff, you're going to spend a lot of money. Even if you buy the cheaper stuff, you know.
Still a lot of money.
So what we do is just, as long as you have the time,
right,
you can just start gathering those things. And
like you were looking at, it was so funny because I always look at microwaves. Everybody's got a microwave. They're like, I barely use this. It was in my apartment for a year.
On Craigslist.
On Craigslist.
Yeah.
$20, $30. You want a new microwave from Lowe's or Walmart? $60, $70, $80, $100. You're like, whoa, that's expensive, man. And why not just pick one up from someone's, you know, little apartment?
Seriously.
So I love it. I love Craigslist.
God, and then we just had days, so, you know, we are getting ready to travel. Like, it all kind of hit. We still do some of our work, you know, some of our computer work, and we knew these jobs were coming, but we have to, like, plan all the travel beforehand.
Yeah.
So we're leaving in... the jobs are, we have two of them in September and then October, and so one of them is in Barcelona.
Yes.
And then the other one's in San Francisco.
So it's a lot of coordinating dates and prices and
what we do is, because these people are paying for us to go to these places, we then plan trips around there, because you know, if you're going to go somewhere, you might as well enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're actually going to spend 3 weeks in Europe before our job, and
which is amazing.
We had to figure out dates and times, and you know, they're paying for it, but we have to book it, and so but it has to be the right price. And then I don't like flying, so I want like the flight I want to be on and the seat I want, because, you know, I don't want like overnight layovers in the corner by the bathroom. I want, like, you know,
so that stuff, and I always remember this every time we're booking jobs. It takes a whole day to just be like, what's this flight? And what was so weird is we looked up all these flights and stuff, and they were all like the worst. I can't even imagine, like 2 stopovers.
Like flying to Moscow, staying overnight in the airport, and then flying to,
But then the very next day, there were all these great flights, and we had already asked for these like crazy crappy place. It was just like chaotic. Finally, everything was fine, but those things, they take up so much brain space.
Yeah. So, I mean, these again are huge luxury problems.
Yes.
So it's good.
Very much.
And then actually we're, a friend of ours is going out of town it's Manhattan, and he always emails me and like, do you want to cat sit for us? I'm like, absolutely.
Well, that happened really last minute. I mean, he was just like, we're going away in 3 weeks. You want to cat sit for us? And we were like, yes.
So we're going to go up to New York and have a nice place in downtown New York.
Yes.
For free. And we'll cat sit. And
we're going to take the Amtrak, just hang out on the train.
We will work from his place. And
we'll be digging through the garbage of New York, which is my favorite thing to do. Grab a bagel.
That's right.
Dig through garbage.
Slice of pizza. Exactly, yeah. So any of you New York scavengers, you might see us at Housing Works, or
you're going to see me on your street with gloves on.
Yeah. Park Slope stoop sales. You go on Saturday, people like right on the sidewalk, like
the chalk.
They do it in chalk. They say stoop sale this way.
We always follow
1
the
to
arrows.
2 p.m. and we
bring like a water bottle and a backpack and like walk around.
And they don't know what hit them.
Yeah, right.
We're like, we'll take all of it. What do you want?
Yeah, right. Their prices are so high in Park Slope.
Some of it, yeah.
But they give away a lot of stuff. I notice I've gotten so many clothes and bags from people just like hanging it over their fence, like, take this. I'm like, yes.
One of the items in our stores that's like a noose around our neck. We bought a pair of snakeskin Ferragamos, beautiful, for $20. I mean,
they were $15. I will never forget the
These
price.
are like $600, designer shoes. Like, they're really special and nice. And I
cannot sell them to save my life.
Right.
I have changed the price. I've brought the price down, and then we doubled the price. We were like, oh, these are way nicer than we thought. And we bring the price down, and we bring the price up.
Someone bought them once, and then I realized before we shipped them, like, I don't really
want them. I cannot sell these shoes, and they're gorgeous, and they're not a super small. So they're like size 7.5. That's kind of an average size. I can't sell them. But that was one. I think I've had those. I think I've had those for like 4 years.
Yeah. But you know what? They will sell, and
I should just auction them off for like $10. No, I shouldn't do that. But it's one of those ones where you're like, I don't know why.
We're just stubborn that way,
Someone will buy them.
Yep.
And then I'll do a dance and I'll like show it on the blog. Like, finally.
And then the other thing I just wanted to... So, one other thing I wanted to... It's mentioned we did this week. So we started... we go to the gym. We're trying to be, like, healthy people. We aren't the best. But, and we cook most of our meals. So that's always a big thing. But,
yeah.
Like, I'm getting a little bit older. A little bit, like... putting on a little bit of weight,
That's normal when you get older.
So something we started to do is we started to count our calories.
Yeah.
So and that's, it's classic. It's just, it's not about being on a diet for me. It's more like we got this app.
Yeah.
Both of us have us on our phone, and when you eat something,
you type it in,
and it tells you the calories, and you have a limit for how much a normal, healthy person is supposed to eat every day. And we started doing that, and you know what? I feel better. Like, I find like it's helping me do portion control because I've always been the kind of person, like, I get hungry, I'm like, let's eat
big old plate, of something, but not unhealthy food, but just like sometimes it can be too much. Like when it's really interesting when you're typing in the calories, you're like, oh, if I ate this entire plate, that's like most of my calories for the day in one sitting.
2,000 calories on one plate.
Yeah, of whatever it is.
So, I'm supposed to, in a healthy way, eat about 1,900 calories as like a middle-aged man.
Now, part of it is if you want to lose a certain weight, like if you want to lose 1 pound a week or half a pound a week, they'll give you certain calorie amounts. Like right now, I'm like, if I want to lose 1 pound a week, it's I think it's like 1,300 calories a day, which is really not that many. Like,
is that true? I mean,
mine's 1,300.
No, but I mean, are you feeling like really hungry?
Sometimes,
because it shouldn't be that way.
No, sometimes I am because I'm like, maybe I need to figure out like the right snacks to have, like a lower calorie snacks, rather than like a bunch of cheese and crackers. You're like, okay, that's probably a little bit heavy.
Because, I mean, I guess to me, like, I don't want it to feel like I'm dieting because I don't want to be dieting. It's more about creating a feedback loop where I'm just aware of what I'm eating.
Right. Portion control. Like
and that, because, I shouldn't be feeling hungry because then eventually I'm just going to like, forget this.
Yeah, this sucks,
But I think you're right. I mean, it's more about like just making sure the thing I'm eating are healthier. Like I'm not just opening up a big old bag of chips and just, ate like 20 ounces of like, Doritos.
I think that's part of it is like just looking at what in general this, calorie intake is, where you're like, wow, that breakfast that I just made myself is like most of my calories for the day. So let me just chill out on the cheese and the, dairy part of it and just get down to like, better, choices basically.
So we only bring that up because, we always talk about its numbers. We love its numbers. We look at the numbers to judge, to make our store is successful. And this is just another bunch of numbers for our health.
Right. So it's interesting to have that app.
And I'll link to the app on our blog. It's free. I mean, it's got like add-ons that you can buy, but I don't like to buy anything, so I just do the free stuff, and that's all I need.
So that's interesting. I've never ever done that in my life, so it's kind of interesting just to see that information.
So we've had some people say that, these podcasts have stopped being about like tutorials because, we're just basically kind of talking about our store, and I get that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk maybe every week to find something. Maybe we could talk about how we do something. And one thing that came up was, we buy and sell light fixtures. Yeah. And often these, aren't the kind that have a plug. It's just like wires in the back. How do you test that? And so someone was asking that.
Yeah, some people ask that. And how I do it is... and you can look this up on YouTube, and it's super simple. You just have to be careful because you don't want to shock yourself, or you don't want to blow a fuse when you do it or whatever. So this is how I do it. I bought an old appliance. It was like an old coffee grinder that was nasty. Like I was not going to resell it. And I cut the cord off of it and just like donated it back for someone to like repair. So I got the cord, and the cord is made up of 2 wires, and generally one wire has like printing on it, and that should be the black wire, and the other wire is just blank. And so on the light fixture there are actually 3 wires. There's a white wire, a black wire, and a green wire. The green wire is your ground for when you're installing it in the ceiling. You don't need that right now because this is temporary. So you do white to white, black to black, and you expose the wires and you like put the wires together.
Hand twist it.
Yeah, you hand twist it. And what I do is I use wire caps, or it's called like a wire nut. You can buy them at the hardware store or just whatever. I find them all the time at the thrift store in like hardware boxes, and you twist the wire cap on so no wires are exposed, no wires are touching except the ones in the interior part. So basically you've created a plug-in light.
A circuit.
Yeah, right? A circuit. So it's just a temporary thing. So I like to do that. So then you plug it in, and it should just turn on. There's no on-off switch. So if you have a bulb in the light fixture, it just turns on. And I use that time to actually take a picture of the light. Like, I don't want to let it sit there forever. So, Jay and I are, like, taking pictures of the light, and then I just pull that apart. You haven't taped anything. It's just a temporary system. And it's really easy that way.
Yep. And so that way, when you take pictures of it, you can show people...
It works.
The chandelier works.
Right, exactly.
Works, and it's really easy. And again... It's not rocket science, and the best thing to do is just to go on a YouTube, and people, there's, I bet, so 1,200 videos of people showing you how to wire up a light.
Like today, I replaced this screen on an iPod Nano that I found. It was all cracked, and I was like, I want to use this for myself, and I don't want the shards of cracked glass. So I just looked it up on YouTube. I watched like 3 YouTube videos to make sure I was watching, finding the right information. I ordered the screen on eBay, and then I just did it this morning. Like, all through YouTube. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, right. I'm following the steps. Unscrew, put this in, screw it back in. Done.
There it is.
I mean, I wouldn't have known how to do it otherwise. Right. So YouTube is your best friend when you're looking this stuff up.
Seriously. Okay, so that's your little how-to for this week. Okay, so our other business, the rental property, we talk about every week just because we bought and renovated
a house,
a vacation rental with money we made on eBay. Yep. So really we feel like it's kind of part and parcel of our kind of business. We had our first trash elf stay with us this past week.
Yes.
Him and his family.
His mom and dad.
They messaged us through the blog and said, what kind of deal do we give to trash elves? We always give good deals. And they came and we had dinner with them.
We did have dinner with them.
They wanted to eat with us. You don't have to.
Yes,
and we had we brought some kale over from our garden.
Yay!
We had a good conversation.
Yeah, it was very
It was
fun.
kind of fun to be in our own house, but with other people.
It was really weird. Like we've never done that before, right. So it was funny walking in like, oh wait, this is my house. It's totally is weird.
And I thought it'd be a little weird, but it was great.
It was fine.
His parents didn't think it was weird that we were like these scavengers.
Yeah, they're like, who are these people?
But it was cool. So it was a real good time. And oddly enough, we're having another trash elf come
on Monday.
Tomorrow night.
Trash elves. Trash elves.
So and they're and we'll also hang out with them.
Yeah, that's really fun.
We're excited. So we always link to our vacation farmhouse on the blog. So if you ever want a good vacation, it's not just to see us. I mean, come to the Shenandoah Valley and go hiking and get on the river and,
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. And, we've mentioned it before. We are fully booked for
July.
Yeah, so we've booked 24 total nights, which isn't crazy. There's only 2 nights open this month that can still get booked, so we might actually be able to do 26 nights if we can get
I would love that.
Book.
That would be cool. It's amazing. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday with each other, and I'm like, I did not expect our rental to be this busy.
Right.
For the first, year.
And some of it is we've done a good job, but also we just live in a place where people rent.
They want to
because
come
it's
here.
like a vacation area.
Yeah.
So we're just we just happen to live in a popular place,
right.
So it's good.
Right. That helped us make the decision to run the business, too.
So here's where having this rental's kind of like eBay.
Yeah.
So, we price our place strongly. We're on the higher end of rentals because our place is nice. So we're trying to see how much we could actually charge.
Yeah.
So for the fall, we've actually raised our prices because we've noticed a lot of people book Fridays and Saturdays.
Right.
And then they don't book the rest of the week. So it kind of makes the week it makes it harder to book because you kind of take out the 2 hot days.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, Fridays and Saturdays, let's try and make that
a higher price.
So right now they're $225, but we've raised it and we're seeing, could we do $299, $275?
Yeah, we're trying to play with that.
I mean, and that's on the high end of the scale. But again, when you compare our place to other places in the area, our place is pretty nice because it's like recently renovated. We've really done a good job.
You have the big yard, don't have any neighbors really.
A lot of places around here are more like older kind of cabins.
Like a hunting cabin.
So you're more in like a rustic kind of 1980s cabin. So we're like, could we, and maybe we can help bring other people's prices up.
We've noticed that other people, after we started getting bookings with our prices, that other people raise their prices, which I think is very good. I'm like, I want everyone to raise their prices because I want people to see, that's a normal price for a weekend.
So it's kind of like what we talk about here with eBay, instead of encouraging people just to keep lowering your price and let's everyone just dump their stuff on eBay. We're like, no, everyone, let's start to value our items more. If everyone kind of values it and raises the price, then
then people expect, okay, that's how much that's worth.
But, everyone can do it's what they want. That's the way you do. So anyway, in this it's mid-July, early, we're going to give it about a month or so with the high price in the fall and see if we can't fill those
the weekends.
Our fall is pretty open right now, and we don't know it's because things are too expensive or not. after about a month, if we haven't been booking the fall, we may go back down to our original price.
Right.
Because, it's better to fill those days than not.
Yeah. So it is, I mean, in a way, it's like eBay where you are. I mean, we don't like to lower our prices on eBay, but we do accept offers. So it's like you're kind of gauging the interest and the price, and it's all those factors. Right. It seems very similar.
Well, I mean, it's just like with eBay. Like, we're trying to, instead of just trying to move things quickly, we're trying to like get as much value out of what we've done, rather than just like undervalue it,
Exactly. So it's all an experiment. It's going very well.
Yeah.
That's what we can say.
So much so that we would love to get another one, but that's
know. Oh my God.
That's another story.
We're crazy people.
A long-term conversation. All right, so some news. Just
breaking news.
These are things that either we find online as we're just cruising around, or people send us links.
Yeah.
I found this article where it's called the buy button.
Yeah.
People like Google and Twitter and Pinterest are trying to incorporate a buy it button into their site
platforms.
And this is mainly on like phones and tablets. And it's true. When I buy something, I'll buy things from eBay on the mobile app, but a lot of times it's hard to buy things on your phone through websites because it wants you to like insert your credit card info.
Log in from here.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Amazon's done a good job because it's got the one-click.
Yeah.
But that's more the exception than the rule.
Right.
And so these other platforms like Google and stuff, they're trying to make their own buy button that anyone can put an item is behind.
Right.
So people can just easily just push a button and just buy it without having to...
Basically, they're trying to make like just a seamless, simple way to buy.
Yeah. So that's why I always tell people, like, I know there are more and more people selling online, but it's getting easier and easier to buy online, and more people are buying their stuff online. So I welcome more people to come and sell, because it just means there's more stuff for more people to buy.
And they want to buy online.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. It's becoming easier and more normal.
I think, God, I remember being in college, and I would buy video equipment and video cameras and stuff. I'm sure you were the same way. It was so ridiculous. I remember like buying stuff through like Yahoo Shopping, and like being afraid to like put my debit card in, and like having to call their 800 number and do that instead. I had friends that were like, I would never shop online. I would never put my credit card. I always do it over the phone. I have to do it in person. It's changed so much since then, where people are just like, one click, buy, done. They don't even think about it.
So these links we'll put on the blog where you can read the articles for it yourself. Another one I found was, we've been selling these old sneakers for a lot of money. I mean, people are paying like $300 for like crumbling old sneakers because they're collectors. And so I was asking, who is buying these
people? And
what do they do with them? Well, I found there's an exhibition in Brooklyn of sneakers. And so we're going to be it's New York in a couple of weeks. I want to go to it.
Yeah, we should.
And so it's like an exhibit. It's like going to it's
museum. Like a museum, a sneaker museum.
And the guy or the whoever has like made like the history of sneakers, where you can see like how they form the plastic and the styles over the years.
What was cool was there in this article there is a slideshow of photos. And two things that I thought were so cool. I love looking at the historical things, like the sneakers, in quotes, from like the late 1800s, like running shoes. I mean, they're leather, basically like leather wingtips.
It's like
like I was talking
Johnson
about
and
before.
Murphy shoes.
Yeah, like they because they were just like, that's what shoes are. I don't know. But what was also cool is these people paid a lot of money for these shoes, and I would love to hear the story behind where they found these shoes. Like the original, like Converse, like before it was called the All-Star, like it was either the 30s or 40s, they showed it, and you're just like, who had that? Like someone had that like in their attic, like the original laces. I'm sure the rubber is very like hardened and like you can't wear this.
Brittle, right?
But you're just like, people still wear those every single day. Like, it's still fashionable from, like, you know, almost 100 years ago.
And, you know, as scavengers, this is the kind of thing that interests us. We love to kind of read, and like we said, like, we discover why items are interesting, and then we fall in love with them. So when we go out, then we're looking
for that. Yeah.
We're basically helping these people get connected to the stuff they're trying to find.
Because the guy who bought the Nikes was like, please tell me if you find anything. You know, if I find vintage Nikes again, you know I'm emailing him.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's fun.
So another article I found was...
These are all New York Times articles, by the way, which I find hilarious because, like, you definitely hang out on New York Times.
In the Hamptons.
It's just,
there's this guy. It was like one of those feature stories. There's this guy that has this famous yard sale in the Hamptons that all the fancy people go to. He's basically having a yard sale.
Yeah.
But he spends all year long finding really awesome, cool stuff. And then he has a yard sale, but like, you know, multi-millionaires go to these things and, you know, buy from him.
Right.
And, you know, and a lot of the stuff is the stuff that we would find.
Yeah, sure.
But he's just developed...
He's got the right...
He's just developed a reputation, and his neighborhood happens to be in the Hamptons in the summertime, you know. And so the articles is just about how all these, like, super rich people are, like, you know, buying, like, old carpets and little... helmets.
Oh, I want to sell to those people. Come on.
You know, pieces of furniture, and like it shows a picture of this guy, and he just looks like one of us. You know, he's a scavenger.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It just shows to me, like, you know, scavenging and buying thrift is like totally fashionable. You know?
Yeah.
It's so hip and cool.
Yeah,
you know?
So that's good. I'm glad. I want the people who have the money to buy our stuff too. So I noticed this week that eBay started sending out messages about global shipping. Like, at first I thought there was some issue that they were emailing me about, but they're saying, like, we're writing to inform you that your recent global shipping item has shipped from the global shipping center. Like, they're sending email updates as stuff moves out, and it got delivered in the UK, you know. That's new. I mean, the global shipping program has been happening for like a year and a half, 2 years.
It's before it was like a black box. Like, you sent it to Kentucky, and then that was it.
No, you got tracking. You get tracking, but only if you're like clicking on the tracking.
Right. I mean, you could find out something about it.
Yeah.
But normally eBay just wouldn't tell you anything.
They don't tell you if it's...
And,
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that they started sending emails out. I'm sure other people saw them. So I think that's good. I mean, I hope that they're sending that to the customers, too. Like, hey, this is on its way. Look, here, it's in your country, you know, because people ask all the time. So, yeah, I would love to know if other people got that email, too.
Yeah. Okay, so things we learned in the comments. You know, the blog was hot and heavy this week, and that was good. We're now doing, you know, on Mondays, Sunday nights we post the podcast. Wednesdays we post the what's sold video, so you can see some of these things we sell. And Fridays I've just been posting kind of an open blog post, so people can kind of talk about it, whatever they want, ask questions, and it's been good. It sounds like this week sales are better for people, or maybe people are just complaining less. Or maybe
I think sales are better.
Maybe because we did that podcast where we were like, "Stop crying,
don't cry about it."
But I'm hoping sales are better for people, and that, you know, we all realize, like, in the summer it can be slower, but we all can still have good weeks. I mean, you know, so.
Well, and last week was July 4th weekend, so I feel like holidays slow down. You know, people are on vacation, they're not buying, they're not at home.
Right, sales can definitely fluctuate. It was also interesting, too, I saw a couple people mention that they've been having customers cancel sales.
Yeah.
And that happened to us, too, the past couple months, where we got like a rash, like maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
People would buy things, and then, like, it's within an hour or two, we'd get an email like, "Oh, I made a mistake. Please cancel this." And, you know, that had never really happened to us. It hasn't happened in about a week or two, but...
No, someone canceled that camera.
That's
remember?
True.
Yeah, it's weird. It's annoying, like everybody says, because It's like your customer reads the description after.
Or they find a better price, or I just don't...
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I bring it up is, and I don't know the answer, but if it's happening to other people at this, as it's happening to us, I wonder if eBay's done something on the design of the site or in the email the buyer gets. Something that's giving people an easier option if they decide they don't want it.
Or it's like giving them different information at different times or something. Like, I don't know. It's odd. I don't know why that's happening.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's tied to more people are buying. And like we said, it's so easy to buy. They're like, oh, buy. Oh, wait, I didn't read the thing. Oh, this is totally the wrong thing.
I think that's the only downfall about buying on the phone is that,
there's...
it might not make it, people might not be kind of digging in deeper to what they're actually buying.
Right.
Especially if it's not like, a brand new item in the box that everyone knows what it's going to be. If it's more of a vintage item, they don't see,
Well, I mean, I find myself doing that too when I'm on mobile. I'm just looking at the photos.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, God, I have to, look at the description and is it working? And, I find myself, even as a buyer, I should know better, but, I'll go back and do it before I'll usually save it and then go on the laptop and check it out. But I think it's more often than not, people are on mobile. They're just like, bye.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh,
it's not the right size, or it's got a scratch that I don't want.
It's just, I think that's happening more often.
Something else, someone just asked a good question. They were like, I've never really been to an estate sale, or I don't have a lot of experience. Where do you go in the house? So someone dies or something, or the house is being sold. You can buy anything in the house. Where do you start?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. A lot of people gave good explanations of the way they approach their strategy. I think it's interesting. When we go to estate sales, you can always tell who's like a scavenger and who's just like a normal person. Because, normal people, they're treating the house like it's actually someone's house, and they don't want to be rude. They don't want to, look in closets.
Cabinets.
And, we know... everything's for sale.
Yeah. Everything's got a price on it.
You can go anywhere. So we're opening up cabinets, going in drawers.
Yeah.
People don't think to go into the basement, opening up boxes.
But we've learned that over time. The first estate sales where you walk into someone's house, I remember going into some of our first estate sales, and I'm like, this is freaking weird.
Right.
I'm going through this person's bathroom cabinets. Right. Am I allowed to do that?
Right.
Yeah, you totally are.
Is everything for sale?
Yeah. I mean, they'll block off rooms if there's stuff that they're they'll tape it off, but most everything is for sale. So for us, we go through everything. Yeah. Bathroom, basement.
And the same thing, too, I find that, a lot of these estate sales are run by, a company.
Yeah.
And they've often taken the fancier, more expensive of the thing they stuff is valuable, and it's up front on a table. Yeah. It's
the glass case equivalent.
It's right in front of them. Yeah, it's like at a thrift store.
High-end perfume.
I will often kind of quickly browse that, but I often just skip that because it's going to be more expensive than I want to be.
I do browse it too.
I go straight to things like kitchen cabinets and drawers to look for knives.
Yeah.
I go into bathrooms and look for perfume or
any kind of bathroom stuff.
Or go into the bedrooms and look in the closets for cool sweaters or shoes. A lot of normal people are like, oh, this isn't my size.
Their closet. Yeah.
So these shoes won't work for me. I'm like, what? There's 8 pairs of Ferragamo's size 6. Great.
Let's get them all.
I'll get them all.
Yep.
And then the basements are always great too, because that's often where someone has stored stuff that was really important to them that they wanted to remember.
Right.
So that's where slides and photos and you know, that kind of stuff.
Family heirloom type.
And that's where you got to dig sometimes.
Yeah.
And
we went to this estate sale yesterday when we were driving to deliver that. After we delivered the furniture, we found an estate sale in her town. Man, this house, it was an old house. It was probably built in the late 1800s. It was one of those houses where you're like, wow. I mean, this was someone who had lived here for a very long time.
Musty.
It smelled musty. It smelled moldy.
It wasn't a hoarder's house, but you know, the person had just, It was just their life.
Their life, yeah.
You know, there wasn't like golden jewelry. It wasn't like obvious value, but there were like stacks of photos.
Those photos,
we found like a stack of these old photos from like the early 1900s. They're so gorgeous.
Oh my God. Well, I picked out 3 that I really liked, but it's one of those things where I love estate sales because, you know, we found these like little baby books, you know, where you write down the date and the name and like first words and stuff. And it's just funny to see baby books from like 1945. Like that's when my parents were born, you know, and it's just someone kept this, wrote it down, and never touched it again until this moment, right. You know? It's really fascinating.
And then people talk about going into like where all the chemicals are, you know, like paint and like the tools.
The tool shed.
Yeah, the tool shed. I mean, those are good places to go too. A lot of people don't think of that. You know, and so those are places where if you want to get like spray paint and tools, I mean, that's a good place to go too. We bought
stuff like that. And what's great too is like, you know, the more contemporary stuff where they bought a bunch of stuff at Lowe's. Like, you can get that stuff for nothing. For
shovels. And the other thing, too, that people don't think about are plants. Yeah. There were plants there on the porch, and I was going to ask them about them.
They were selling the plants.
I didn't really see any plants I wanted. But, you know, not everything has a price tag on them. You just have to ask, you know. Right. Can I buy those? They'll be like, sure, you know. Yeah. And you go walk away with some awesome potted plants if you want.
Yeah, because that house that we went into, it was for sale. Yeah. So it was like someone had either moved to a home, downsized, or died. And that house was for sale, and the family need to clean it out quick. So they're like, just anything's for sale, you know? We love estate sales. Sometimes, you know, prices were very high at this estate sale, but the lady, and it was funny because all these ladies were eating lunch in the kitchen, and they're like, it's 50% off. I'm like, thank God, because I wouldn't be buying half this stuff. It was,
and so, you know, we went through and found the stuff that was only $1 or $2, and we got half price, and, you know, and that's just, whoever priced it, they had certain things they thought were special and some things they didn't, and we just found the stuff that made sense to us.
Right.
You know, we went on Saturday. I bet if we were in that area today,
it'd be even cheaper.
It'd be even cheaper.
You'd be able to talk them down. I mean, there were things that I wanted to talk them down, but I'm like, they're not going to go down low enough for me. But today, they would.
Okay, what our coming week will be like. All right, so we did not do a lot of eBay this past week. You know, not a lot of listing or taking photos. We have a month before our traveling begins. So we're trying to dedicate this next month to just like getting through piles and listing. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. I mean, let's see if next podcast we've actually pulled it off. But that's what we're going to do.
I think so. As long as we're not like driving all over from Virginia to like buy stuff on Craigslist and deliver furniture.
I mean, that's the thing about being a scavenger when you have a store going, is that there's so many things that can pull you away. It's so easy, and some of it's just got to get done. But you know, we have to be disciplined and really set some time aside to you know, get this done.
Yep, not be distracted. Okay, so let's answer questions and talk about comments that have come through the voicemail line. Now, you can call us at any time. It's just a voicemail number. We do not pick up. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
And you can also email us questions, too, if you're afraid to talk to us. But, we're very nice people. Okay, let's go to the first question.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, it's Jack here in Richmond, Virginia. I just saw your haul video, and I thought it was pretty cool. It really shows another side to what y'all do. And I've got a question, which really doesn't relate to the stuff, but why is Jay wearing a hoodie, long pants, and socks in July? Unless that video is filmed back, several months ago, I don't get it. I didn't see the wood stove going, so I really don't think it's winter there, but I don't know, maybe. So I would just like that question answered. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Okay, so that video that we made, I checked the date on it because people were asking, like, isn't it July? And Jay's wearing a hoodie and a hat. We actually taped that on April 1st. So it was still cold in our house, and we just like hadn't posted it because we were, doing other stuff. And
yeah, I think people have been kind of hounding us to like show what stuff looks like as it comes into our house. Yeah. And so we had recorded that on our phone and then just forgot about it, and then it remembered again. So.
Yeah, so it had been a little while, so it's still cold.
Trust me, it's plenty hot here in Virginia now.
Jay's sitting in his underwear right now.
Hey, don't give people that picture.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Crystal over in California. I really appreciate your podcast. I learned a lot from it, and I just wanted to see what your thoughts on this incident that happened to me, and I thought it was kind of silly. But what happened was I sent a mug out to a person in Texas, and a $40 mug. They gave me an incomplete address via PayPal. He didn't have his apartment number, and he was brand new eBayer, no feedback, zero feedback. And I actually caught the fact that the package was undeliverable. I told him, I said, did you give me the right address? And he's like, I gave him the apartment number. And I said, well, it's still right now at the post office. I tried to call. He apparently maybe tried to go to the post office. It ended up coming back to me on the slow train. And on the way back, I'm sure it got totaled. The box was totaled. It was crushed by the time it got to me. And so, of course, I immediately put in a postage claim. And I was going to give him his money back, but I did not want to give him his shipping fees back because it was his fault. He did not do what he was, supposed to do. So I called eBay, told him what I wanted to do. They said contact him, get a deal going. And so I did. And I really felt like I was talking to a teenager. And he was just totally cool, oh, thanks, man, thanks, And so I gave him the $40 back, but without the shipping. And then eBay told me to call them to get my fees back. And so I did. And they were only going to give me my shipping, the item price fee, not the full fee. And so I pushed, and I said, no, it's his fault. The whole thing was his fault because he didn't give me the correct address. And I thought this was the only protection really sellers had. And finally, she gave me a courtesy credit for the full amount of my fee. And after that, she said, remember to confirm your address with all your buyers. And I kind of got, that's kind of silly, because if you sell multiple items, you can't confirm. I don't sell close to what you guys sell. I can't imagine you trying to confirm every single address for every person. So I just thought that might be interesting to see what you think about that. It was hard to get my fees, and it was just, the response was kind of weird. But thank you guys. Keep it up. Bye.
I have had this similar problem happen recently where I noticed that something was getting sent back, and it got sent back to me, and I wrote to the buyer, and they were like, oh yeah, I didn't put my apartment address.
Which is always great when they admit that. Because
yes.
As soon as they admit that, then you're off the hook.
Yeah, you're like, that's not my problem. Like, you should know you live in an apartment and that you need your apartment number. It's happened several times over the last 6 years where people just, I don't know why they don't do it. And so what was funny was, in my situation, I was like, well, just send me $6 or $7 through PayPal. I'll send you an invoice and I'll just re-ship it to you, and I'll make sure that your, apartment is on there and stuff. And he was like, oh, I don't have the money right now. I was like, cool, you're not going to get your item. When you have the money, I'll hold it for you. When you have $7 to send me, I'll send it back. And it's sitting in my office. I've never heard from him. So I'm kind of still just waiting till the time runs out. That's a whole other story. But you did the exact right thing. I think you handled it very professionally. You opened a claim with USPS because it got damaged. I think that's good. You can take a picture and show them it's crushed. And it was very good that you pushed eBay to give you your full fees back, because they should do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've never had a problem getting eBay to side it with us, especially when the buyer admits that they didn't put in the right info. So
it's good that you got your fees back.
It's just a matter of getting on the horn and just...
And the other thing that you mentioned about you confirming the address with your buyer, I think that's an inexperienced customer service rep, because you're not going to confirm the address every time somebody buys from you. It is the buyer's responsibility to make sure they have the correct shipping address. Period. End of story.
Yeah, hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Sharon from Oregon. And a question for you guys. Love your podcast. Always listen to it. And something I haven't heard come up, not sure if it's been addressed before. But I have a pair of shoes that I purchased. I spent a little bit of money on. And I did a little bit of research, and I guess they're like Christian Louboutins, and they're real cool spike shoes, very rare with the red bottoms. I was very excited. Thought I had about a 200 to 500, maybe 600 pair of shoes sitting there. And then I started getting emails from people asking if they're authentic. I have not a clue if they're authentic. I don't know how to authenticate them. And now I'm hesitant. I took them off because I'm unsure. And I'm curious if you guys have ever posted something before where you just can't verify whether they're authentic or not, and if there's some special wording or if you just can't put them up. I just have no idea. I've looked at others. There's very little difference in them compared to other shoes, but I don't know. So I'm curious how you handle this, if you do at all. Maybe you just nix it. Honestly, I never even, because I'm not really up on the sale of shoes like this. It's not my world. That I didn't even think about whether these could be knockoffs or not. So anyways, it'd be fun to hear your point of view, maybe others, and hope you guys are having a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah, authentication is tough. When I first got this voicemail, I actually looked up on YouTube how to tell fake Louboutins on like through a video so that the shoe divas could show me. So there are videos about it, and I've looked up videos for how to spot fake Coach, fake Tiffany, stuff like that, just so you can see what the quality difference is. And sometimes just from there you can tell, but there are some really good fakes out there. There are websites that will authenticate it for you for a price. Sometimes that is good because you could have $1,000 pair of shoes, and you want to get it authenticated so that you can prove to people these are real.
But honestly, that's one reason why we kind of don't,
yeah,
we kind of stay away from selling really high-end brands because of this, because we don't want to pay someone to authenticate it, and even that's, an iffy proposition. So what we do is, we'll only buy that stuff if we're like in an estate sale and a woman looks rich. Yeah. And there's gold and silver and there's like these fancy shoes, because then you kind of assume,
it's real.
In this context.
Yeah.
But, if we're like at a flea market and there's like a junky table and there's like a pair of,
Coach, whatever.
Like Coach handbag. We honestly often don't buy those just because.
Although I have found real Coach at a flea market. But it's one of those things where you buy it for cheap and then you get home and you really look at it and you're like, I think this is real.
And then we'll sell it, without getting it authenticated. We'll just judge for ourselves and we'll say it's real. And then we've never really.
I've never had a problem.
We've never had someone send something back and say it's fake.
Right.
So. Right. If you do the best you can, and if you want to specialize in that stuff, then I'm sure you're going to come up with a whole system. But if it's just like a one pair of fancy shoes, just do the best you can, learn about it online, and then just sell them as real.
Yeah,
because they probably are.
I would love to know where you got them. Like, did you get them at like a junky thrift store? Did you get them at an estate sale? Did you find them at Goodwill? I don't know. I'm interested to hear that. But again, do as much research as you can and feel confident in it.
Wow, I can't believe I got through. This is Steven, first-time caller, long-time listener. This question is for you, Ray and Brian. I'm going on a Hawaiian vacation for about 10 days, and I'm wondering about returns. What do you do when somebody wants to return something while you're away? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, clearly that's Steven Schultz. What a goof.
Yeah. That is kind of like a canned question. No, but it's a good question. He's actually going to a wedding in Hawaii. I mean,
ooh,
what a
lucky.
a life. Like that's those are the benefits of being a scavenger, is that you can take these trips and
10 days in Hawaii. So the good thing is 10 days is not very long.
Right.
If someone wants to return something, in my opinion, for 10 days, you can be like, yep, send it back. Please give me the tracking number if it's not through Hassle Free. And you can track it. And you can also say, I'm away for 10 days and I will give you a refund immediately when I get home. Usually people take a long time to return things anyway, so it's probably not going to be that big a deal.
But, we're about to go away in September. I mean, we're going to be away for over a month.
Yeah.
And what we normally do is if people return things, we just follow the tracking.
Yeah.
And then when we see it gets to our house, then we just give them a
refund.
It's refund, and just and we just assume it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to tell the person, okay, I'm away, right away. Because you're assuming, I have never had anyone return anything and it's not the item. So I'm like, despite what problems might arise, I'm just going to refund them. If you're on a 6-week trip, that's different than a 10-day trip, So that's how we've handled it in the past.
Yeah. Have fun in Hawaii.
Oh.
Aloha.
Hi, this is Deb Boyles in Michigan. I have 2 questions, actually. One is, I would like to hear you guys talk about your counter offer strategy, because it seems like whenever I counter, I'm probably only getting, I'm not even sure I'm getting 50% of sales out of my counter offers. So the second thing is, do you guys think that possibly we're pushed up on searches after we get 1,000 items? I just reached 1,000. And I think I've sold $900 worth in the last 2.5 days, whereas the last 6 weeks have been nothing, practically. So, thank you. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
So, counteroffer strategy, you're seeing exactly what everybody else is seeing. When you counter, a lot of times people, their first offer, whether it's a lowball offer or whatever, that's all they're willing to pay.
Yeah. I mean, 50% would be incredible. I'm thinking ours is like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
So we get an offer. We know if we counter, there's only a 5 to 10% chance that person will accept our counter or will counter back.
Yeah.
So we always, when we get an offer, we think that's it. So do we take it or do we basically lose the sale because we don't expect, someone to buy our counter offer.
Right.
So that's why sometimes we will take half price offers
depending
because
on
we're
the day.
like, this is probably
Yeah. But, there are times where you're countering and you're going back and forth and you settle on a price. That does happen.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, 5 to 10%.
Yeah, it's a low percentage, but
yeah.
I just think, and sometimes people give us an offer and we're like, great, I love that offer. I bought this thing for less than $1.
Right.
Just get it out. And that's just the way we do it.
But, we've talked about this many times in the blog. People have said, I get so angry. People are like, it's $100 and they're offering me $5. I mean, no emotion. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Like it says 100. I'm like, okay, 95.
Yeah.
Like
you want $5? I'll take $5 off.
If someone gives me a super low ball, I come down just a little bit. It doesn't cost me anything. And again, every so often, I'll do that, and someone's like, "Oh, it's not just a robot," or
it's a person.
It's a serious price, okay. And then they'll give me a real offer, of like $75, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah. So, like Jay said, no emotion, be a robot. We love best offer.
Yeah.
That's just how we do it. So the second thing, do we think eBay pushes you up after you have 1,000 items? No, I do not think that. I think you just had an amazing day that day after you reached 1,000 items, and that happens. There's ups and downs, and some people, do great at 500 items. Some people do great at 4,000 items. I don't think it matters. I don't think eBay cares how many items you have in your store.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of eBay, but people always try and come up with these kind of arbitrary limits and numbers. Like, if you get 1,000 and something happens, I mean, it's like, this is, I would hope, a sophisticated technology company, just like Google and Amazon, and they have sophisticated algorithms that they judge all of our stores. So it's not just one single input of info that's changing everything. It's, it's all based on what you're selling and your price and your reputation and
how often you list. I mean, you said you just got up to 1,000. That means you were listing that week. So we've noticed eBay probably likes it when you list.
And, it's also what you're selling too. I mean, maybe that week a lot of people wanted to buy sweaters, and so you have a lot of sweaters. So
it's just arbitrary.
Yeah, I think the best thing any of us can do is just buy good stuff and list it and then sell it.
And then forget it. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, that's it for It's This Week. Thanks for being It's With us. I hope we were able to be It's With you while you were, killing a pile of death in your house.
Kill the pile. Yes,
or maybe,
please.
If you're taking a walk or something, that's cool. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com. That's where we have a conversation after this conversation.
And we link to all the stuff we talked about.
Yep.
You can call us and leave a question or a comment. The number, again, is 540-407-8486.
And you can subscribe to us through iTunes, so this gets automatically put into your little iPod, or you can also do it on YouTube as well. And, we will always be there for you. We're like your best friends.
And I want to thank everyone who sends us tips in our tip jar. We now have the ability to get tips through Google / YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. So it's interesting on a YouTube, if you watch our videos, there's like a little up in the right-hand corner. It's like, support this thing.
These people.
We didn't know that was there.
It's new, so
it's not very a big deal, so you can just totally ignore it, but it's also there too, That just helps us kind of pay for some of our costs as we do this.
Yes.
And we will link to on our blog our vacation farmhouse. If you want a vacation, if you want to come to the Shenandoah Valley, come and enjoy.
And we'll have dinner with you. If you want. Only if you want. Okay, we're ending this podcast.
3, 2, 1. Bye.
0. Bye.